Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Tia, and let's jump into today's dip manicure. So today's dip manicure is all about just applying 3.5 layers. And I know I have several subscribers and customers that actually prefer a 3.5 or 3.5 dip manicure. So I'm going to show you guys how I do a 3.5. I get a lot of comments and questions about why I apply more layers than others. And so I had to really process that, a little bit. And as I started to sort of self identify, I had to take accountability for the fact that I use my nails as if they're tools. If they're like, if I need a box cutter, I don't have one near. Oh, my thumb will work. And I'll crack my nail or I'll break the tip or you'll use your nails. I will use my nails as if it's like a screwdriver trying to sort of pick something out when I could just go and grab something to actually do the trick versus using my nail. And so I typically, because I am so rough on my nails, I don't typically use a 3.5 layers. Now, sometimes I will apply 3.5 layers if I know that I am going to do like a quick little dip manicure. I'm doing a tutorial and I'm going to take it off real quick to put on something that I'm going to wear for 2 weeks. Then I'll do 3.5 layers because I'm really just showing the color or maybe even just, like showcasing a new product or how that product sort of shows or pairs against my skin tone. But outside of that, I typically, apply more layers. But for my customers and for those of you who want the 3.5 layer, I will show you guys a quick tutorial. So in this particular case, I went ahead and I applied my apex layer, my apex building layer. And that's usually the sort of half or 3/4 layer of clear powder that you're going to apply to your natural nail. And I've done that several times. And if you click on any of my other videos, you can kind of see that. But I skipped that step here because I really wanted to sort of walk you guys through the process. And again, it's just about removing the last, sometimes for me, 2 to 3 layers, because I normally typically will go to a 5.5 or 6 layer dip manicure. But in this case, I'm only going to do 3.5. Now, I will say that there are some people that are better candidates for 3.5 than others. Again, if you're using your nails as tools, like a box cutter, 3.5 is not for you. You need something a little stronger. But if your natural nails are already strong, meaning your natural nails, you can wear your natural nails without any product and your natural nails are still strong and resilient, then a 3.5 definitely will work for you. You may even be able to get away with just a straight 3. But if you have or are wearing a tip, I don't know if 3.5 layers will be enough just based on your activities. So I would caution you to really just sort of assess, try 3.5 layers, see how you like it for like a week and a half. If it works for you, then you found your sweet spot. But if it doesn't, then make some subtle changes, and you can do that by just adding additional layers. Now, the technique that I'm showing just right here is I'm just applying, because I am doing 3.5 layers. Instead of me avoiding the side walls for my first color layer, I'm not going to do that. I want all the product that I can get on my nail. So I'm not avoiding any area. I'm going all in. I'm covering the entire nail with a base coat, step number 2, and I'm submerging my finger into the base, the dip powder, and I'm allowing my finger to sit there for at least 10 seconds, if not a little longer. Why? Because I want as much of the powder to absorb within that base coat, just to give me some additional strength, because I'm only doing 3.5 layers. Right now, I've done a total of 1.5 layer, right? And so see, I just crossed that out. Another tip: if you're using, a some of the weekly circulations, or if you're using a paper towel or some other type of you know uh, layer to actually sit your product on, write down how many layers you want to start with, and then slowly but surely start crossing those layers out those values out, those sticks out if you're doing that, just so that you can keep track of what you're doing. And then once I completed that hand, what I would do, or fingers, what I will do is then let it sit on there for about 35 seconds or so before I dust the powder off. Now I'm going in with my second full color layer. This is going to be the last full color layer that I add. Again, we're only doing 3.5 layers. So I'm going to cover every aspect of my natural nail. I'm doing the side walls. I'm going down. I'm going to sweep that free edge. I am going very close to the cuticle, leaving no gaps, leaving no space, because I want to add as much base, base that I can. And then again, I'm going to submerge my finger at an angle into the dip powder. And this shade is called Morning Mist. It's a beautiful, as you can see, it has like a green, like a neon green tone to it, but the base is gray. So it gives off this really muted mint shade that has like a gray tone underneath. Very pretty. And I look at it as a neutral. So if you're interested in like maybe changing things up, you don't want necessarily something that's white or cream, but you want something that's still somewhat light, I would say go with Morning Mist. It's really a beautiful shade. Now, right there, I just pulled my finger out. I kept it submerged into the powder. I tapped everything off. I am not dusting. Not dusting. I'm going to let that powder sit there, and I'm going to do the next finger, and then I like to dust off. It just allows the product to settle a little bit more. And again, this is going to be the double color layer because we're only doing 3.5 layers. At the end, we're going to our final layer, we're going to use that clear powder to seal. Now, some people, and I debate this back and forth with folks in the comments. Some people prefer to do a clear powder, some people don't. I would say if you want a true color payoff and you want to protect the integrity of the pigment, you should definitely seal your dip manicure, your color pigments with a clear powder. Now, you can forego this, but you would have to mix in clear with your dip powder, and it would have to be almost like a 2-to-1 ratio, just so that you can have some clear built in to help protect that. But it can get a little tricky sometimes, and it can also, too, depending on the clear that you're using, especially if it's been used over time and it has other pigments in it, it could alter the color of. So I would caution against that. So that's why I just personally just prefer to just use my clear powder and just seal everything. So once I've done that, again, as you can see, I'm just going to scratch that line out. And then once I get down to my final layer, we're good to go. Now that you've applied your clear powder, let's go ahead and move on to step number 3, which is the bond or the activator. Now, this is what you're going to use to really start to crystallize and harden the product and the dip layers that you have. This is going to activate the resin that will actually start to harden and create that outer protective layer on top of the nail plate. I like to apply multiple layers just to make sure that it seeps through and it really penetrates all of the multiple layers that you've had, so that you don't, once you start the filing process, you don't find that you're getting down and buffing down and getting to a point where you're still dealing with non-cured products. So I like to just apply a little bit more of the bond and have it seep through and give it time to work itself through those cracks and crevices so that it can actually activate at each layer. The other thing that I like to do is I am pinching. I'm a pinch girl. I like to, give my natural nails some shape. I like to help them out just a little bit. And so I find that by pinching and blowing helps to not only speed up the curing time, but it also helps to formulate a shape that I like, that's more of a tapered, narrowed look. Once I've done all of my pinching, I'm going to actually test. I'm going to actually test my nails, and I'm checking to see if there's any movement, to see if they have hardened enough for me to actually move on with the filing process. If my nails are still flexible, I still have the ability to manipulate, they're not as strong or as hard as I would want them to be, then I won't proceed with the filing. I'll just stop, wait another minute or two, give it time to settle, to cure additionally, and then I will move on with the filing. What I'm using right now is a hand file, and you can use your hand file and or you can use your e-file. I'm using a hand file, and I prefer to use a file that has a 100 and on one side and then the 180 on the other side. I find that I like that combination. I find that the 100 gives me just enough coarseness so that I can remove any bulk, but that 180 side gives me just enough smoothness, and it's a little more subtle, that I can actually work a little longer in terms of the shaping aspect when I use the 180 side. So the coarser the nail file, the lower the number, the sort of finer and or softer the grit of the nail file, the higher the number will be. And so I personally prefer to utilize the 180 side of the nail file. Right here, I'm just getting comfortable because I was like, oh, this is about to be a little challenge. And some nails can be a little bit more challenging than others. So you always want to make sure that you're in a couple comfortable position and that you have comfortable clothing on. And if you have to readjust, you readjust. But I'm taking my time going around the side walls and the cuticle area. And I really want to make sure that I'm debulking my nail, because sometimes, again, remember, when I applied my nails, because we're doing the 3.5, I went ahead and took the base coat, step number 2, and instead of avoiding the side walls, for the first color layer like I normally do, I didn't do that. I went ahead and applied the base to the entire nail. So because of that, some of my nail is a little wider than what I would normally like to see, but I still need to have that product there. So what I'm doing is I'm using that 180 side because it allows me to still shape and mold the nail without taking off too much product. And once I do that, I'll then move to the top part of the nail, making sure that I'm not filing off that sort of raised apex, but more so refining it, and then finishing it off by making sure that that free edge has a nice straight shape to it. Side walls have a nice tapered, not overstated, but just stated enough, and then I'm smoothing everything out. Now that I've pretty much filed both fingers and I'm liking the shape, I always take my fingers and I look at it from different angles. But right now I'm looking up so I can actually see what that shape is going to look like. And if I'm satisfied with that, I do a once over. I'm always going to check the side walls and, both sides of the nails that I'm working on before I move on and buff. Once I do that and I'm okay with like the shaping aspect, now I'm going to go into the smoothing part. I'm going to grab my buffer, and you always want to make sure that your buffer has some actual grit to it. Sometimes when we're using our buffers, we can rub off or buff off some of that grit. And I've seen in some cases where people are actually using a buffer that doesn't have any coarseness to it. I don't care if it's 180, 220, 240, 260, it's nothing there. And it's just not smoothing out the actual surface. So always make sure that you're replacing your buffer depending on how frequently you're using your nails. But doing your nails, I would say that you should replace your buffer probably about every 4 to 5 months. Now, right now, I'm going to grab my e-file and we're going to do some cleaning up. I'm going to clean up underneath my free edge just a little bit because I have some product buildup right here and I want to remove much of that. I'm removing it so that I don't pick at it later on because, again, I need to keep all of the layers that I have. And sometimes if you have that extra gunk underneath your nails, you'll start messing with it. You'll pluck it before you know it. Now you've broken the integrity of the dip manicure and now all your hard work has gone down the drain. So I like to clean my nails up underneath my nails before I move on to the next step. Off camera, I washed my hands. Now I'm going to grab a lint-free wipe along with some alcohol. In an effort of time, to save time, I went ahead and grabbed my lamp and I'm going to grab my gel polish, and I have everything sort of set up right here so that I can go ahead and add the top coat to my dip manicure. Now, I typically like to use the gel polish because I find that it gives me the added strength that I need on top of my dip manicure. Plus, I only have 3.5 layers and I need to cheat and add a couple of more layers. So I'm going to add the base coat and 2 layers of the top coat. And I'm going to use the gel glaze, which is going to be a high shine. But right now I'm using the base coat. The base coat we're going to apply to all my fingers. And one of the things I would also say is that when you're working with your lamp and your gel polish, make sure your gel polish is not directly in front of your lamp because sometimes your movements can accidentally trigger that lamp. And once that lamp is triggered, it can start to cure your gel polish inside of the container. And that's happened to me several times where I've been like, dang, I shouldn't have done that. And over and over and over again, before you know it, that polish will slowly but surely start to harden on you. So when you go the next time to take the lid off, you can't pull the product out. And that's because that product was probably exposed to that UV light and it started curing in the actual container, and now you can't use it anymore. So just be mindful of that. You want to apply a thin layer. I always suggest doing a thin layer because this is not one of those structured gels. This is just polish. So you just want a thin layer. It's going to give us the tackiness that we need to allow our gel glaze to actually grip and stay, attached to that, almost like it's like a primer. The base is a primer for your gel polish. So we just want to make sure that you're applying a thin layer of that, but you want to apply it to all areas, because I find that if I miss an area, I will start to experience lifting and peeling. So you just want to make sure that you're doing that, and also always sweep your free edge so that that product is there, and it can also help to grip the gel polish once we pull our hand off from under the lamp. Once we've done that, we're going to place our hand under the lamp for 60 seconds and let that cure. Okay, so now we're going to grab our top coat, our gel glaze top coat. We're going to apply 2 layers. Each layer must cure for 60 seconds. We're going to apply a thin, even layer to the entirety of the nail. We're going to just take our time, apply that gel glaze, making sure that we're sweeping the free edge and that we're also taking it down as close as possible to the side walls without actually getting it on our skin. We're going to actually push it as far back as we can get without flooding the cuticle and the side walls. And we're going to always sweep that free edge. And we're going to make sure we do that on all 5 fingers before we cure for 60 seconds, and then apply a second layer and place your hand under the lamp for another 60 seconds. Sometimes you can get gel polish on your hand, or sometimes it gets on your skin because, the way you're holding the brush. Don't worry. What I want you to do is grab a wooden stick and or maybe your cuticle pusher, something, or a Q-tip that is somewhat tapered and thin, and just lightly scrape off any overflow of product that you actually see, and get that off of your skin before you set your nails under the dryer. That way you won't have to actually, repair it after you've taken your hand off from under the lamp. And you're going to cure for 60 seconds. Now, once everything is done, I'm going to remove my lamp and I'm going to actually, check out my work. Look at that. So cute, so timeless, so perfect for fall and winter. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much. And as always, keep dipping. See you later, guys.